Thank you all and welcome back. We're now going to move into our healing session, Somatic Abolitionism, with Richael Faithful. And I want to just quickly introduce Richael. Richael is an interdisciplinary healing justice practitioner. Richelle's been in movement work for 20 years, in which they're trained as a community organizer, licensed as a movement lawyer, initiated as a traditional folk healer, seasoned as a strategist and facilitator, and celebrated as a writer and creative. Richelle's vast experience and skills are woven together to support their longtime work in healing justice, a political framework that seems to end systemic violence on our medicines, bodies, and environments, and instead build the traditions, practices, and collective resources that heal us. Centered in their Southern roots, love politic, and ancestral futurism, Richael considers himself a part of a cohort of culture workers committed to transforming generational cycles of harm. And we're very pleased that Richael was able to join us today. Richael, welcome, and thank you for being part of our convening.
Thank you, Ellen. It is a pleasure to be with all of you for Upend's Freedom to Dream conference and convening. So thank you, Ellen, for the intro. And also just want to give a shout out to the brilliant panel with Maya, Emma, Brianna, and Lexi, and say that this is going to be a shift in mood today. Many of you all have been engaged in this deep discussion and thinking and analysis. And my role today is to help us make sure that all of that gets integrated in our body. We get to keep the things that support us, release the things that do not, and make sure that we are just fully taking in what it means, right, to be in abolition and committed to this work and movements in our family systems and the systems that can create either harm or healing. So a couple quick things about today, because we're going to be working with our bodies. I'm going to encourage us to first just find where you are most comfortable in your body right now. That might be still seated. It might mean you need to stand up. It might mean that for part of our time together, it will serve you to be lying down. So however you are most comfortable, that's what I'm going to invite you to do. And I also want us to just take a brief moment to consider what our own care strategies are. So we all have ways that we deal with activations, strong feelings, strong reactions. And I want you to take about 30 seconds to think about if something hard comes up for me over the next 45 minutes in this session, how do I want to take care of myself? Do I need to take a break and leave the room for a few minutes? Do I need to hydrate myself? Do I need to have an object that gives me comfort nearby? So please take just a moment to really just think about that and to see if you can just be prepared in case anything comes up. Our hope is, though, in collective practice, we will all feel supported and be able to stay for the entirety of the session. So if you need more time, please continue to take care of what you need to take care of. But I want to welcome you to Somatic Abolition in Collective Practice, which is going to be how we're moving through the 3 different exercises today. One will be a breathing practice. The second practice is going to be centering practice from generative somatics. And the last is what I call a generational body scan. All these exercises are intended to help us really be in the full embodiment of abolition, what it can feel like to feel freer. And not only in our thinking, but again, in our bodies, in our experience, in our kind of visceral reactions to thinking and dreaming about a world that we are creating that is abolitionist. And I just want to name that I'm so grateful to have learned from many teachers, not only in somatic practice, but the ways in which integrating mind, body, and spirit continues to heal us individually and collectively. So I want to name Corinne Bell, Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs, generative somatics, many grandmothers from the Conjure tradition from which I hail, as well ancestral teachers who are now not only with me, but with all of us today as we do this work. And finally, I just want to introduce this term somatic abolition to anyone who is not familiar with it. It's been coined by Resmaa Menakem, who many of us know as an author and a practitioner. And he defines somatic abolition as an individual and communal effort to be free in our bodies and our country here in the United States from our long enslavement to white body supremacy and racialized trauma. So what he's meaning here is he's envisioning a world in which our bodies feel that sense of freedom. All of our bodies feel a sense of freedom, regardless of our ancestral histories of enslavement, genocide, colonization, and the ways that's been reinforced, right, in our systems, reinforced over time and history to present. And naturally, through that survival, the trauma that our bodies have experienced and that still live inside our bodies, in some ways that we can detect and name and know, and other ways that we don't yet know how to name or fully quantify. But these practices today that we're going to be doing together are all toward that practice of freedom in our bodies so that we end patterns of white body supremacy and racialized trauma today and with us. So the first thing we're going to invite us to do is inspired by a practice of Dr. Alexis Pauline Gomes, who is a kindred in this work. I'm going to take us through some slow breathing. What I want to invite us to do is not be committed to a very specific technique. Instead, I'm going to encourage us to hold an intention to breathe low and slow. So please take a moment to just even notice how your body is holding itself. Do you need to find more support in your chair? Do you need to feel more grounded if you're standing? Do you need to shift your balance so that you can feel your actual center? And just as you're noticing your body, just notice how you're breathing. Sometimes we take advantage of the miracle of our breath. For others who have been impacted by violence, perhaps you do not take your breath for granted. So please just take a moment to notice the quality of your breathing, non-judgmentally. We're just, in fact, taking in and praising the fact that we are breathing together. And there's no right way or wrong way to do it as long as we are just breathing together. And for about 30 seconds, we'll practice this holding this intention of what it will mean to breathe lower in our bodies. So moving from chest breathing down to our bellies, so that when we breathe out, or breathe in rather, we're having our belly come out, and our belly shrinks when we breathe out again. And what it means to also breathe more slowly. So it might mean that you have to drop more into your body from your head. It might mean that the words that you are saying slow down. We're holding this intention of breathing just a little bit more slowly, a little bit lower in our bodies. Creating space within our bodies that we may not be allowed to have in other moments. Gifting ourselves with deeper breaths. I'm going to ask us to continue that intention of lower and slower as we take part in a life-affirming breathing practice. So here I have the great Audre Lorde in a quote, "Love has been our survival," from Sister Outsider. In this quote, she's talking about a particular kind of love between women as a lesbian identified person. And even if that's not your experience, I'm going to invite you to touch into the ways in which you have felt love in your life, or you have imagined love in your life, or imagined love toward yourself. And for about 1 minute, I'm going to invite you to actually recite these words in succession. Love has been our survival. And to breathe in between each sentence. So I'm going to start us off, and then I'll encourage you to spend about 30 seconds in your own practice. You might need to put your hand to your heart or any other place where you are feeling love in your body. I'll encourage you to say this out loud wherever you are, if you're able. Love has been our survival. 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 Continue to speak those words for 30 more seconds. Continue just a few more seconds. Okay, I'll ask you to take a deep breath in. And hopefully your body has relaxed a little bit. Maybe your shoulders a little bit looser. Maybe there's less tightness around your arms, your core. And remember, you can always come back to your breathing low and slow. to recenter, reground, and reconnect. And you can always come back to this Black feminist mantra, love has been our survival. To reconnect to purpose, the reason why we are in this abolition work together, because if it's not coming from love, it's not abolition. So continue to be in your breath practice, and we're going to move on to our next exercise called centering. This is a practice many of you all might be familiar with from generative somatics. So I'm humbled just to do a short centering for us, which will have us drop further in to ourselves and what we carry in our bodies, not only now, but through time. So first, as you're breathing low and slow, continue to keep your attention to your body. I'll ask you to notice your sensations across your body, any emotions and feelings, and feeling words that you can bring to those emotions. And also to notice your internal dialogue. What are you saying to yourself at this moment? And we're just noticing and breathing. We're not judging. I'm going to try to bring our thoughts back here to present with our breath. We take just a few moments to notice sensations, feelings, and your internal dialogue. Just gently noticing whatever is coming up for us is just what it is. We're breathing low and slow, and we're trying to feel ourselves more than to think ourselves. So please bring your attention now to your center. However you feel your center, that might be at your belly, it might be lower your pelvis from where you're sitting, if you're sitting. It might be higher in your chest. But from your center, I'm going to invite you to fill out your length. And by that, I mean like that spot from the top of your head, down your spine, through the base of your spine, all the way down through your legs. That is your length. When I say fill out, I'm inviting you to breathe into your length. How tall are you right now? This is your plane of dignity. So we're going to feel the fullness of our length as we affirm our inherent dignity as humans, as living beings, deserving of respect and care and love. And deserving of systems that reflect your inherent worth. Take a couple more breaths to feel and fill out your length, your plane of dignity. And we're going to shift our intention to our width. So you might feel this as the place between one shoulder to the other, or one side of your thigh to the other thigh. This is your beautiful width. And this represents our relationships and community. So feel into the edges of your width. How much are you receiving? How much is coming back to you from your relationships, from the community, the communities that you're a part of? And what are you giving out? What are you extending to your relationships, to your community? And at this moment, if anything is out of balance and out of whack, you can bring your attention back to your center, to ground, and feel fully into that width. As you breathe low and slow, just notice what kind of balance you need. Are you overextending? Are you not receiving enough? Are there ways that you can give more or offer more to the relationships that support and nurture you, that affirm your life, that affirm our lives? Honor that balance that you are recalibrating. A couple more deep breaths. And last but not least, we're going to move to our depth, which you might feel maybe at your belly button and extending all the way down to your tailbone, or all the way up to the base of your spine, back behind your head. But we're going to take a moment to fill in our depth. You might experience this as feeling the whole backside of your body as the past, your past, our collective past, our righteous ancestors who are standing next to us and behind us. You might also experience your depth as the front side of your body, as our futures. Everything from our longings and desire to our children, and children born from us or not, the future generations that will store this earth, these places, these systems, who will inherit what we create and recreate at this moment. Take a few steps to really honor that depth of connection, of past and future, every moment contains our past, present, and future. And like our breath, each moment's an opportunity to give life or take away life, to affirm or destroy, to create or abolish. So we feel into that discernment into what's needed for us in the collective. We do what our ancestors needed. We do the courageous things that our children need from us. And while you are here, I'll ask you to take a moment as we finish this practice to reflect on what are you a commitment to? And in this tradition, that wording has meaning. We are a commitment to something. We're not separate from it. And in that complete commitment to something, we choose to embody it, to practice it every moment of which we are aware every day. So see what emerges for you right now. What are you a commitment to? Feeling into your plane of dignity, your plane of relationship, your plane of past and future. What are you a commitment to? I'll invite you to take 3 deep breaths to finish this practice. And we have one final deepening practice together. And this practice I call the generational body scan. And this practice is going to deepen us even further from where we have centered. Now that we are connected to more parts of our body, to more parts of our relationships, and hopefully just more parts of our being. This is a practice I'm grateful to say I created a number of years ago to support land workers and food justice workers. And the guiding question for this practice is, what are you releasing through your body on their behalf? So as we go through the different generations and body parts that we are going to focus on, the question is, what are you releasing through your body on their behalf? And of course, as you release on their behalf, you are releasing for yourself and all of us as well. I just want to encourage you, this is the practice that many of us have experienced already in different ways, sometimes through pain, chronic pain, suffering. But this is our practice into freedom. What does it mean to release the burdens, release the tensions, and begin releasing the pain points that we have inherited, but we can choose to work through. So we're actually going to start with our mouths. It may not be a place that you often pay attention to, but this is going to represent our grandparents' generation. So for whomever that generation that is for you, I encourage you to feel into it. These are some older ancestors of ours. And begin releasing inside your mouth what might be embedded in your teeth. We hold so much in our bones, including our teeth. Releasing through our tongues. You might be moved to speak and say what your ancestors were unable to say, who were in such unsafe conditions they could not speak. I'll also invite you to release through your tonsils. So you might need to open your mouth and sing or express or have deeper breaths so you can feel your tonsils in the back of your mouth. Our tonsils are such an important gateway to our immunity, our ability to be resilient in our bodies. So for your grandparents, if they were unable to enjoy that sense of resilience because they endured so much, we release through our tonsils, our tongue, and our teeth. Take a deep cleansing breath as we drop down to our chest. Our chest today represents our parents' generation. We're asking ourselves what we can release through our body on their behalf. So I invite you to begin releasing first through your actual heart. If you can feel it beating. Our heart is such an important muscle that we don't think of as a muscle. It is intricate, it is tender, it is powerful. So we release in our parents' generation any brokenheartedness that may have manifested in depression, in heart attacks, heart failure, and other ways that our heart represents too much strain. We breathe into it and release some of that strain. And we also breathe into and release some of what's in our veins. Our whole vascular system literally moves some of the most important life force, our blood, through our bodies. And for all the different kinds of conditions that represent obstruction in our veins, that they'll allow our blood to course through. We try to even imagine in this moment veins linking to our strong heart muscles and widening just ever so much to create space for our realities, our freedom, our power. And to circulate all the way through the rest of our body. So we release and dissolve and hold that intention to release and dissolve any blockages in our veins, especially that we inherited from our parents through the conditions that they had to survive. Breathe in 2 more times to release and to open. We have 2 more places to visit. We'll bring our attention to our pelvis, the seat of you. And we'll breathe into our pelvic floor, the entire intricate system of muscles and bones and ligaments and other parts of our body that allow us to even be centered here. It's also the seat of our creativity, energetically. For many of us, regardless of gender, this is also where our reproductive organs are. So what are you releasing through your body so you can transform? And how is your transformation supporting our collective transformation? Not only of culture, but of systems. What are you releasing today? We welcome your tears, we welcome the aches, we welcome anything that needs to surface so you can release. You can always return back to your breath, low and slow. And last but not least, I'll encourage us just to be centered from our pelvic floor to our feet. These are generations above and in the future who we visited during our centering practice. But here you might feel that sense of liberation in your soles, in your ankles, for the ways we might be connected to Earth, but also be able to stabilize ourselves to reach further, to reach higher, to reach into those dreams that we've talked about today and we'll talk more about tomorrow, that you are helping to create. What are we releasing for the next generation? This is a good moment to come back to your commitment. What are you a commitment to? What do you be rooting in those moments when the work feels too tough, when life feels too hard? when we doubt our collective struggle, what will give you that sense of commitment and rigor, gentle discipline, endurance to keep moving? In our few last breaths of this practice, I'll invite us to come back to our affirmation: love is our survival. Love is our survival. It is our thriving. It is our reason to heal others, past, present, and future. We heal the systems that we also want to abolish and transform. We heal ourselves in this practice that we do always together and never alone. So as you prepare for the end of today and our second day in Freedom to Dream, I'll ask you to hold in your body this feeling of what your commitment to, your centeredness in love, your ability to be as present as possible through your breath and awareness. A continuation to release that which is not free, and affirming and rooted in love. I'll share this poem by Jericho Brown, which was an important grounding for me during the pandemic, called Crossing, from his collection called The Tradition. I'll ask you to think of yourself as many in the voice of this poem. We are moving together to be free, and not just in theory, but in practice, in our bodies, in our lives. Crossing. The water is one thing, and one thing for miles. The water is one thing, making this bridge built over the water another. Walk it. Early, walk it back when the day goes dim. Everyone just rising to find a way toward rest again. We work, start on one side, and like the planet's only sun, our eyes straight until the flame sinks. The flame sinks. Thank God I am different. I figured and I've counted. I'm not crossing to cross back. I'm set on something vast. It reaches long as the sea. I am more than a conqueror, bigger than bravery, and I don't march. I am the one who leaps. So thank you for being in Somatic Abolition practice with me today. May it serve you for the rest of this convening, today and tomorrow. And I'm grateful to be in community with all of you as visionaries, as movement workers, as family members who are envisioning a very different reality for ourselves and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. That was amazing. And we really, really appreciate you being with us here today. Thank you very much.